All right, ladies and gentlemen and work experience students, we're going to learn about taxes and tax returns. What I'm going to do is on some slides I'll just say hit pause if you want to spend more time reading it. Otherwise, I'm going to zoom through stuff as fast as I can so this video is not super long. But here's what we're going to learn today, and here's more of what we're going to learn today. All right, part one: where does your tax money go? Where does your tax money go? Okay, what I want you guys to do is grab this handout and right there, somewhere in here, just write down what is the first thing that you think our federal tax money should be spent on. When I get back, I'm going to quiz you on this, so we'll find out. All right, let's talk about federal taxes. All right, so here is where federal tax money comes from. So a bulk of it comes from individuals like you and your parents and your family paying individual income taxes. Businesses that hire people, most businesses do, they have payroll taxes, so they pay taxes for having employees, and a good chunk comes from there. And then businesses pay direct taxes, so like a business makes profit, they pay taxes, and so on and so forth. But the bulk of it comes from people going to work. Okay, so write this down right there. Anytime you see red, write that down on your handout. All right, here is the total federal spending broken down. So most of it goes to Social Security, unemployment, and labor. So basically they pay it directly to people for health and then military. And so, by the way, this is 2021 spending. I know for sure the interest on the debt for 2024 went way up. So it was the first time in history that the interest on the debt was the same amount as our military spending. So that's a little concerning. But at any rate, you can take a look and see where, hit pause on this and kind of look and see, like, where does all the money go? By the way, the Social Security piece is growing and growing, and there's not enough new people working to pay the retirement of old people, and this is most of the federal government spending. So this can't continue on the way it is. We need to, well, in my opinion, this is my opinion. You guys have your own opinion, but in my opinion, we need to respect the Social Security, and we need to fulfill our promise to people who paid into Social Security. But if somebody says, like, we just need to keep doing it exactly the same way we've been doing it, it's untenable. It can't continue. So think in your brains, we've got to figure out a way to fix Social Security, because we can't keep doing the way we're doing it. Here is the deficit. So the federal government spent $6.75 trillion in 2024, and they only made a revenue of about $5 billion. And so they had a large deficit. So they basically borrowed money, printed money, and spent more money than they made. They do this every year, which is also, they can't keep doing it. That's also untenable. Here's an interesting thing. So it took the United States of America 221 years to get $12 trillion in debt. And then, so in the last 4 years, we've doubled that. So like we overspent in 4 years what it took us the previous 221 years to do. So when everybody says, like, hey, let's just keep doing exactly what we're doing, there's no problem, that's not true. That's a problem. All right. So here's a website that's interesting. You could take a look at it. It shows an interesting view of how the government spends its money. So an interesting thing is that there's mandatory spending. So like stuff like they've already promised Congress without actually passing a new bill can't change it. So 66% is like already a done deal. They have to spend it, and then 26% is discretionary. And then this is higher now. That's 22. This is 14. I believe it's like 13 or 14% now. The interest on the debt. So at any rate, so some stuff is mandatory, some is discretionary, and so the things that they can't change are like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, veterans benefits. Those things are like locked in, and they can't really not spend those. So the interesting thing about that. This is a good visual I wanted to show you. So if you want to go to this website, it really breaks down like where does defense spending go. So like the economy and standard of living, is 8. At any rate, it breaks it down and shows you like here's the 3 different things that go to it. So if you want to click on that, that's interesting to me. Okay. Okay. So the tax bracket. So we pay taxes in tax brackets, which basically means like if you don't make very much money, you only pay 10% in taxes. If you make a ton of money, you pay 37% in taxes. Okay, so your taxes are going to change based on your income. So the question is, what is a tax bracket? Write that down on your handouts. What is a tax bracket? If my explanation wasn't good enough, look it up online. Okay, so what are the top 2 things that the federal government spends its money on? You can hit reverse on the video and go look. How would you change how they spend it if they were in charge? And what is the problem with the national deficit? Well, I think I said enough, but if you want to look that up too. Answer those questions on your handout. All right, let's talk about state taxes. What is the first thing that you think our federal tax money should be spent on? It's in red. Write that down on your handouts. Answer that right on the handouts. So the state spending is way different than the federal. So a huge chunk goes to health and human services. Okay, so paying for people's medical care and for helping people. Higher education is a big chunk. K through 12 education is a big chunk. So if you look at the education in general, that's a very large chunk. And you can hit pause and take a look at the rest of these things and see where the state money is going. And then answer these questions. The interesting thing when I look at this is like this makes sense. Like, okay, the state's spending our money on different things, but the interesting thing to me is like in each of these chunks, there's a ton of waste, fraud, and abuse. So just because they're interesting thing to me. All right, next thing. What are your rights and responsibilities? So as a taxpayer, you have things that you should do, and the IRS and the Franchise Tax Board, which is the California version of the IRS, they have responsibilities as well. All right, fill in the blanks here. Okay, next one, your responsibilities. So be accurate and honest, pay on time, make sure you keep your records. You have to keep your records for 3 to 7 years. You need to be responsive to the IRS, stay informed. Keep photocopies of your tax returns for at least 3 to 7 years. So that's an expectation. So you need to have a file box where you keep all that stuff. Pay your taxes on time by April 16th. So here's the Taxpayer Bill of Rights made by the IRS. So they should give you the information you need. They should be responsive to you and give you good service. You should not have to pay more than the correct amount, so don't pay the highest amount, but you should pay the lowest amount that's legal. You should be able to challenge the IRS and get help doing that. Here's some more Bill of Rights. So if you can appeal the IRS decision, there's a limit to how long they can audit you, right to privacy, right to confidentiality. You have that. So if you want to see like a fancy version of the IRS Bill of Rights, here's like there's the same thing. Okay, so now you're going to have to do your taxes, right? It's tax season. So there's these different forms that provide or give information. There's the W-4, W-2, and the 1040 tax return form. Why do you have to do a tax return? So you're paying taxes all year long, right? So they pull taxes out of your paycheck. So why do we have to do a tax return? Why do we have to square up with the government if we've been paying all along? And the answer is we have a progressive tax system where people who are more wealthy pay more taxes than people who are less wealthy. And because of that, like you don't know exactly where you're going to land. And so you can't have accurate taxes until the very end when you figure out like how much have you made, and that's why. So you can answer that question. Why do we have to do tax returns? Because we have a progressive tax system, and we won't have all the information to figure out what we actually owe till the very end. All right, look online, answer these questions, and write those down on your handout. All right. You can do this. The you can fill this in as well. The W-4 is an IRS form you complete when you first get a job. So you tell them how many children you have. You tell them if you're married or not. You tell them how many deductions you have, which is going to affect how much they pull out. So you can change the W-4 form to where more taxes are pulled out each month, or you can adjust it where less is pulled out each month. If you accurately complete the W-4, you can ensure that you don't have a big balance due at tax time. So you don't want, when tax time comes, you don't want to have to pay a ton, and when tax time comes, you also don't want to get back a ton, because if you get back a ton, that means that you've been giving the government an interest-free loan for a year, and instead of giving them a loan, you should have that in some sort of account that's making interest, and so you could be using your money instead of the government using your money for free. You don't need to be honest on the W-4, and the reason it is so, for example, so my wife and I, we ended up owing a ton of taxes at the end of the year, so we're like, oh shoot, we didn't pay enough throughout the year, and so we basically took our W-4 and said, we have 0 children, which is a lie. It's okay to lie on it, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get them to pull out more taxes each month, so that at the end we were all squared away, and we you're trying to get to where you don't owe and you don't get paid back any money. Why is it a bad idea to overpay taxes and get a big refund? I just answered that. Answer that on your paper. Okay, so this is what a W-4 looks like, and you fill it out and just basically give them the information, and then your boss, the HR department at your work will figure out how much taxes to pull out each month. Why is it okay to lie on the W-4? And the answer is, the W-4 is just for you to try to get the taxes pulled out each month pretty close. It doesn't matter though if you lie on it, because the government squares up at the end when you do your taxes on your tax return at the end. You square up, so if you paid too little, they'll get it at the end anyway. So that is why. And if that doesn't make sense, we can talk about it later. All right. The IRS requires employers to report wage and salary information for employees on a W-2 form. So a W-2 form is where at the end of the year, your boss sends this to you in the mail, and it says, hey, here's how much taxes we pulled out, here's how much money you made, and then you use that. That's crucial information for completing your 1040 tax return form. Yeah, so the W-2 is extremely important, not just extremely, it's like mandatory. You can't do your taxes without it when preparing your tax return. Why is it bad to lie on the W-2? So if your boss lied on the W-2, that would mean you were putting false information on your tax returns, and that is criminal. So you can't do that. You'd get in trouble with the IRS. So your boss will try not to lie on the W-2, I'm sure. This is what the W-2 form looks like. So you're going to get something that looks like this in the mail from your boss. Okay. The IRS Tax 1040 is what you will use to figure out what you actually owe in taxes for the year. So what you pay each paycheck is a guess, and then at the end of the year you'll figure out, like, here's how much we actually owe, and then either you'll pay or you'll get back or you'll be squared away. See if you can answer these questions. Yeah, I think you can figure these things out all on your own. So here's what the 1040 looks like. So you just fill out, here's how much money I made, here's how many kids I have. You put in all the important information, and you figure out your deductions, how much like a deduction is like, oh, because I did this, I have to pay less taxes, sort of thing. So these are just links that, well, those links aren't any good on this thing. Okay, so let's say that you have, let's say you did some freelance work, right? So you worked and you didn't pay any taxes on it. You could use a 1099, or let's say you did an investment in the stock market and you made $1,000. Well, then they would send you a 1099. So the 1099 is a collection form used to report payments that typically aren't from an employer, not taxed on already. So like brokerage firms where you're getting your stocks or your mutual funds, will send this to you. Okay, so that is it for my spiel. So So we learned a little bit about taxes. As far as doing your taxes, in the past I offered to like help all the students do their taxes in class, and typically everybody would just do it at home with their parents and guardians. So I'm not going to take a class time to do it. But if you don't have a parent or guardian that will help you with your taxes, gather all your stuff and bring it in, and I'll try to help you when I can. I'll try to help you. So at any rate, there's a quiz on Google Classroom about taxes. Use your notes and handouts to do that.